Happy Witchy Wednesday. It's also WIP. This is what I'm working on. Also my Wellness Wednesday focus. I know, like, I first used to like avoid hashtags, and now I'm having this small mad love affair. When it got difficult for me to write like I used to after I had a relapse with my brain injury. I used to write this blog and stories and all this different stuff, and I had to power down from that. So hashtags kind of became my way of telling my story. Anywho, it's my WIP. Even though it's April, I would like to finish up my drawings from March, my coloring pages from March. So that's my goal today. And I just want to like do shading, like something just like really chill and flowy, which is also very much like what I've been talking about, second chakra energy. And sounds like some crazy commercial on Spotify. Listening to my playlist they put together for you from all the songs I put little hearts to. So I was thinking, okay, let's just do color pencils. They're creamy, they're flowy. I love working with the Crayola color pencils because they are creamy and they blend really nicely with other mediums, because I do like to work with different mediums on the page. And what I mean by that is I use everything but the kitchen sink. I'll use, like, I have highlighters here to block color, but I also like, there we go. I also like glitter glue. I like crayons. I like gel pens and ballpoint pens. So it really just, because I do work intuitively, I go by like what it feels in the moment. And I like to layer color light to dark. I haven't talked about drawing in a while. It feels like forever, but even though it hasn't been. I also figured out why like yesterday's video and the last two videos were super uber close and you couldn't see anything. Because I'm using this new app to try to edit and make it easier to upload. It's called InShot. It was recommended by somebody on YouTube. Okay, I love this song. I have to like blast this. I'm a freaking huge Jill Scott fan. But as we talk about second chakra, I want to just take a break from fear alchemy. But this ties in too. And it's something that I've noticed when people talk about second chakra, they'll tell you, oh, you know, it's the color orange, which I'm representing. And they'll tell you the stones that go with it. Like carnelian's a great second chakra stone. But where people tend to gloss over, I've noticed, is when it comes to talking about the sexual energy that the second chakra is, you know, like that's their deal. Like that's where that energy is coming from, is from your pelvis. And through my years of trying to heal my own sexual trauma and energy, in what I've noticed is like if you go to find a yoga or wellness female sexuality, so much is centered about taking in pleasure, receiving pleasure. But if you're having difficulty receiving, which is also second chakra energy, then it's difficult to pleasure yourself. If you have shame about receiving, if you have blame or guilt about receiving, if you have fear about receiving, if you have abandonment issues about receiving, if you've had like my mom definitely had a lot of hang-ups when it came to sex and pleasure and that stems from her strict Mexican Catholic upbringing. I mean, her mother sent her across the street to the neighbor to learn about her period because she couldn't talk to my mom about it. My mom never married for love. She always married for security. And she was always kind of like in awe of my husband's in my marriage and our closeness and our chemistry. And I mean, my husband and I, yeah, you know, it's like the sexual chemistry was definitely there first. I wasn't looking for anything. I was on my way to India to go be in an ashram. I thought I would come out and be celibate for the rest of my life. I was tired of failed relationships. But I was very comfortable in my sexuality because I had done a lot of work about my sexuality. I met my husband when I was 37. Yeah, I got married at 38. I had been in therapy since I was 20. When I entered therapy, I was unable to have an orgasm. I knew what I liked, but like many young girls, I would find myself like dating guys I didn't really want to be dating because I was told to give them a chance, or find myself in situations sexually where I felt uncomfortable stopping and saying no. A lot of stuff came up. When I went into therapy, this became a place to heal. And the other thing that I see with wellness or sexual programs is a lot of times they're so partner centric. And for me, healing sexuality, you need alone time to do that. Like you can't bring the party to the partner until you know what it is that you like and what you want and what makes you feel good, what gives you pleasure. Until you feel comfortable that if you are triggered, you're able to use your voice and take a step back and take a break and not feel compelled to put others' needs above your own. And so what happened is this honesty that I used to lack in my relationships with men, and I would keep things superficial because I was unable to be honest with them. I was unable to talk about my trauma. I'd seen too many people, friends, family, pull away from me when I talk about my trauma. So it was definitely not something that I want to talk about with someone who I was physically attracted to. And so things just didn't work out. It was like I was a buffet table and I would give parts of me, but nobody ever got the whole meal. Except, it's funny, like by the time I met my husband and I had I've off and on, I had been celibate, and the longest I had ever been celibate was 3 years when I met my husband. And I did take time to date myself. Oops, made a little oops there. I took time to be alone and do for me all the things I had wished to do with someone else. Go to concerts and museums and long drives at sunset along PCH or in the canyons and listen to music, and as well as like sexual pleasure. Now, but I do have to say, like, it was in my early 20s though, I did have a relationship of someone who I loved and felt very comfortable with. And so this was, I was in a long relationship. There was a lot of trust. So this was someone that I was able to then go to the next level and be able to achieve an orgasm with a partner, and someone who was willing to take it slow and follow in my cues and listen to my cues and do all the little nuances of sexuality, of touch and smell and taste, and as well as feel, instead of like wanting to jump into like acrobatics. And not saying that acrobatics aren't fun, and not saying that a good old fashioned, like just a nice good fuck isn't absolutely fabulous. But there was a lot of healing that happened before I got to that space. So, like, I want to talk more about this. It's a huge subject when it comes to healing sexuality for women, especially women who've had early childhood sexual trauma, because it's very different than being raped. There's so much of a mind fuck about, especially if it was someone that was a trusted member of your tribe. There's just such a mind fuck that happens about trust and trusting yourself and trusting your body's signals. So when it comes to second chakra healing, we can talk a lot about healing our emotions and our broken hearts and lack of connection to our intuition. But if we gloss over also what it means to be in a female body, what's the pain you have suffered being female, what's the shame you have suffered being female, what's the fear and the hurt, then we're forever holding even ourselves and our own intimacy with ourselves at a distance. So, so funny. Every time, like, I have an idea of what I think I want to, like, chat about on this vlog today and what's, like, kind of floating around in my brain, it ends up being something else. But how this does tie into everything else I've been talking about with fear alchemy is one of the ways that I really just healed my own sexual energy was dance. And just finding that song where you go, fuck yeah, that's my jam. And it just rises up out of you. You're unable to stop the connection with the music and how it moves through you like a wave of pleasure. And as you move to the music, and I always thought, like, you know, dance is just joy and sex is joy. And to me, eating's joy. Like, one of the things, like, with my husband is he gets the whole package. There is no filter. I've lived with my husband longer than any other human. My longest relationship was with my dog Jiva. We were together 17 and a half years. And then my husband, we've been married 15 years. We've been together, living together for 16 years because we happened fast. We moved in right away. And when you know, you know. And that's longer than even with my parents. So when you really get to know yourself, the joy of that is that then you really know when you meet that person that just is your favorite soul in the whole wide world. And you know that's who you want to be with. That's who you want to hang out with. And it's just amazing. It's the coolest feeling ever. And my husband and I did have a lot of chemistry. And we still do. And it does mellow and soften and have ebbs and flows with life and the stresses of life and the joys of life. But that initial spark, that his ability to look at me a certain way and make my stomach go flippy flop, that's still there. And that's a gift. But I also know I never would have arrived here if I didn't do the work I needed to do alone first, with myself, that healing with myself. All right, well, once again, if you guys ever have any questions, you're always welcome to DM me or ask me to talk about stuff more. I do know that sometimes I skip around or I don't complete a thought. And at the end of the video, I kind of leave where you can find me, where I hang out on social media and I post my bad girl vibes and memes and stories and stuff. All right, everyone, stay home, stay frosty, stay engaged. Peace out.